Hello, my name is Bethany, and today I am sharing about my community research audit project, which focuses specifically on Hispanics and Latinos in the United States. Since it is a growing population, it is important that libraries and other entities are aware of Hispanic and Latino information needs. My interest in this people group began actually at my own public library. Although one would think that Hispanics and Latinos wouldn't travel as far north as Wisconsin, there are actually many here in my small hometown in Madison area. My library is increasingly trying to be active in reaching out to the Hispanic and Latino population. Our bilingual librarian serves as a coordinator for pairing trained volunteer tutors with Hispanics and Latinos that want to learn to speak English. Because I have witnessed meetings of tutors and students in the library, I was made aware that learning English was only part of the tutoring that Hispanics and Latinos desired. That's where my project comes in. Before we go any farther, I want to point out why this project includes both Hispanics and Latinos. I hadn't really considered it before this project, but the terms are often used interchangeably. As I looked into it for the project, I discovered that, while there is a great deal of overlap, they are not necessarily quite the same term. Hispanic refers to those who speak Spanish. This includes Mexico and several Central and South American countries. It also, however, includes Spain and does not include Brazil because the primary language of Brazil is Portuguese. The term Latino, on the other hand, refers to those from Central and South American countries and does not include Spain. Because of the majority overlap in terms, and because their information needs are usually similar, both terms are used in this project. When I talk about specific sources, I will use the term that the source used. When I talk about my work, I will do my best to use both terms. As I mentioned earlier, Hispanics and Latinos are a growing population in the United States. As of 2014, according to the Pew Research Center, 17.3% or 55.3 million of the population identified as Hispanic. It is important to note here that the Pew Research Center uses Hispanic and Latino interchangeably. Also in Pew's report, over 12 million of that population is below the poverty line. Only a quarter of that total number speaks solely English at home. The rest either speak Spanish or some combination of the two languages. About 17.9 million of the total number are 18 or younger, and the majority of those younger than 18 were born here in the United States. These numbers help us to realize that even within the Hispanic and Latino group, there are actually many subgroups. There are those who have recently immigrated and those who have been born here. They also have different economic situations. Their fluency in English also affects their ability to find helpful information in the United States. The differences that these people have also mean that their information needs and where they go for information will be different. For example, in one study, older Hispanics were found to actually prefer shopping online when possible because they are more likely to find a familiar product and they can avoid having a conversation in English. The studies I found on Hispanic and Latino information behavior typically focused on two types of needs: higher education and health information seeking. Because of the time constraint, I am going to briefly state what I found. First, I found that Hispanics and Latinos who have grown up demonstrate the same research and evaluation skills as their millennial peers. However, if you've done any studies in millennials, they tend to be overconfident in their abilities, and they are typically unprepared for college research. This is also true of Hispanics and Latinos who have grown up with our millennials. Second, I learned that while the internet has not been as accessible to Hispanics and Latinos in the past, Its use is increasing among them, especially through phones. Finally, one of the ways that Hispanics and Latinos typically find information is through their own community and word of mouth. This is especially true of newer immigrants, but also is accurate for those who have lived here for some time. There are a few ethical implications to consider when providing information help to Hispanics and Latinos. Much of it centers on the potential of serving an illegal immigrant. In 2014, about 11.1 million illegal immigrants were in the United States, and 52% of that number were from Mexico. Because of their status, in addition to possibly only speaking very broken English, illegal Hispanics and Latinos would most likely be very uncomfortable with coming to a public library for information. It is difficult for a library to serve a community that does not seek its service. Also, there are two other dilemmas. If a librarian knows that an individual is an illegal immigrant, should they report the individual? This touches on librarian ethics, including serving all equally and the right to privacy. There is no hard and fast answer. And if the librarian chooses to go forward with reporting the individual, it not only reflects badly on the library, but will prevent others in the Latino and Hispanic community from coming to the library because of that fear. The second dilemma for librarians serving Hispanics and Latinos focuses on bilingual resources. If materials are not available in their native language, that could be considered a form of censorship, although it is usually not intentional. I recommended in my paper that librarians with a tighter budget could consider providing a list of Spanish and Portuguese online resources and partnering with other libraries to help provide information for Hispanics and Latinos. The resources I chose for the Hispanic and Latino community focused on needs that came out in the articles I found and from my local library. I included quite a few websites that could be used for health information seeking and others regarding higher education and community interaction. Many of the sources could be used across the United States, but a few focus specifically here in Wisconsin and the Madison area and include the University of Wisconsin. If you would like to take a look, there are a few I am including on the PowerPoint. For my study proposal, I chose a focus group instead of a survey. The reasoning behind it is that for a small community, it would be best to find local people and have a conversation in order to get a feel for what that community is like and what the Hispanic Latino community perceives as needs here. I would set it up much like our textbook suggests, with 8 to 12 people from the local community. However, because not all Hispanics and Latinos will know English very well, I would also have a translator present to ask my questions after me. The questions would begin with basic demographics for those present, and then specifically focus on what they need and skills that would help them. Participants could answer in English or Spanish and would be recorded for further study. The Spanish answers after the study would go to several translators to make sure that they are translated as closely as possible. From there, I would look for common themes and needs that I can share with the public library and other community locations such as the schools and hospital. Resources being used to meet those needs would require English, Spanish, and even in some cases Portuguese translations. Many credible resources should be gathered from online since it is a rising source of information. It is my hope that you have learned much in this presentation. I know it is very brief. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer, and I am looking forward to learning from you as well.